and welcome to the channel and to this painting tutorial where I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. Not this thing here, but this thing here. There's a couple of important notes before we start. The first thing is we're not painting the inside of the model. I've glued the door shut. Now there's a couple of reasons for doing that. The first reason is time. I first learnt this technique when I had to get 5 of these drop pods done ready for a tournament. I had to get them done very quickly. So I glued all the doors shut and voila, 5 drop pods in a day. Another painting reason is the fins. When I used to paint the insides, when the fins come down they get chipped and damaged. And how annoying are those fins anyway? When they're down on the battlefield and you're flipping the fins down, how often do they get in the way of other stuff, other models and terrain that you have on the table? You don't open up the doors on your Land Raiders and your Rhinos and your Storm Ravens. Why should you open up the doors on your drop pod? There are some players on the tournament scene that like to glue the door shut because these can be quite effective at blocking sight lines. You can drop them in and close off parts of the battlefield. If your opponent doesn't like the idea of the doors being shut all the time, I've played in the tournament once where I said imagine that the doors are open and you can see through and you can shoot through it. Just provide them 5+ cover to anything that's on the other side. But for me, the main reasons why I glue the door shut is time, and they're annoying. The doors are very annoying. So I just make my pods look like this. Before we begin, there's just one more important thing I need to mention. This technique works very well on light colour palettes such as this white here. Yellow for Imperial Fists, grey for Space Wolves will work well on as well. Reds it can work well on. But if your primary colour, the one underneath, is too dark, this technique doesn't work terribly well. For example, I've done exactly the same technique on this model here, and with the blue underneath, you can't see the scorch marks, you can't see the damage patterns as effectively as you can see on the white model. Here they are in comparison, so as you can see it shouts out. The damage works better on a lighter colour palette than a darker colour palette. So through the magic of video, let's rewind time, go back to the beginning, and I'll show you how I painted this. So first up, assemble your model, then add your primer and your Legion colour. The Legion colour for my drop pods is white. As I mentioned earlier, a nice bright colour which will make the vehicle damage stand out. So 4 or 5 coats of this later, it looks like this. Right, next we're going to pick out the fins and the metallic parts of the drop pod using lead belcher, a nice dark metallic colour. After the lead belcher is done, it looks like this. It took a couple of coats and obviously there's some a few mistakes, overlaps, which I'm going to need to sort out with some white. One thing I want to note here is this portion, the I don't know, bit at the bottom of the flap there should probably be metal as well, and these bits on the sides, but I'm not going to paint them metal. The reason for that is because the bits of blackness that we're going to do, the battle damage that we're going to do, is going to obliterate any details that we put here. You can also paint these squares silver as well. You can put as much, or these panels as well can be silver if you like, or these panels at the top can be silver if you like. You can put as much detail as you want on the model. You can spend as much time making it more metallic and less of your Legion colour if you like. I'm going for this because of speed and because when it's done, the battle damage, the blackness will make the model look very pretty. Spending lots and lots of time here, you can, but you don't need to, is what I want to say. As you can see, the metal isn't a perfect uniform colour. That's fine. We want it like that because the next layer, we're going to stress this metal. We're going to add some colours and bugger it up a bit. Get some Rune Lord brass and see that around the edges of the metal there. Yeah, just splotches here or there, uneven on all of these wings. Then some gold, and with the gold you put splotches of gold, just touches here or there. So we end up with a couple of different layers of metallics, and it stresses the metal, and then when we put the wash on and other layers of detail, it will look quite knackered. Are we filming?
Mm-hmm.
Brown wash, a little bit of brown put brown wash on the model. Cut. So I used a brown Steel Legion drab in this case to put a brown wash over the model like this. This is about 80% water, 20% paint. It's a very, very thin wash, and I'm focusing on the cracks and crevices, and yeah, different on every single panel. Some panels whiter, some panels darker. Need to let that dry, and then we're going to add a second wash, same stuff. Then I put another layer of brown on, very thin layer, in the cracks, in the crevices, just to have a two-tone brownish effect. Morn Fan Brown is a slightly reddish brown. I'm going to add a little bit of this as well, very lightly washed in touches here and there. And when you're done, it'll look a bit like this. Lots of reddy brown in these fins at the side, and just touches here and there. I've also painted one of the fins blue, because that's what I do. It's the other colour of my Legion. And that's it. So you've got quite a few different layers of brown, some on top of each other, some next to each other, sticking to the cracks, smeared all over the place. Don't worry about this bit around the bottom too much, because that's going to be bombed in black. Next, you need to go to your kitchen sink and make a really runny black wash with Abaddon black wash. Really, really runny. Abaddon and fat brush, dirty sink, wife will kill me. And then wash it all over the model like that. And these black stains, while it's still wet, while you've got all that really washy, runny wash over it, dip the tip of your brush straight into your Abaddon black, and then just put a splodge on, and a splodge on, and a splodge on, and you'll see it'll run into the water. Just burn patches here and there, and it will run down like that. That's a bit too dark. Just like that, just burny little burn bits here or there. Cut. And when you're done, it will look like that. Burn patches, paint all over your hands, burn patches, and a light, very light black wash over the whole thing. Let it dry now. When it's all dry, it'll look like this. So we're getting there now. Time to break out the spray can. So get a can of Chaos Black, and we're going to spray the drop pod like this. Go to the garden and spray the underneath. Spray around the bottom of the pod. Obviously, because you're spraying aerosol directly onto the model, be very gentle, be very delicate with it, and try not to go too high up the sides of the drop pod. And it looks like this. Quite a cool effect. Then we're going to do the last little bits of scorch damage like this, running up the highest points of the drop pod on the fins there, as you can see, and down the panels. Now, to get this effect, it's quite simple. Abaddon black, a bit of sponge, cut off a sponge, dab the end of the sponge in the Abaddon black, get a bit off, and we are just going in an up and down motion, touching the sides of the pod like that. And you get this pretty cool effect. Do that all over the model. And when you're done, it'll look a bit like this. It's not the same on every panel. Some panels got a lot more black than others. I'm sticking to the highest parts of the model as well, as you can see, and it does this chipped, scorched effect, which comes out very well. Just dab up and down, don't push too hard. Okay, here we are with the finished model, which hopefully you'll agree looks pretty cool. Remember, the secrets to success are do this technique on a light colour palette. It works very well on the white here. And also a couple of washes, a couple of very light brown washes of different shades, and then that chipped effect. So it's not that tricky. I hope you found this video useful, and happy wargaming.